Welcome to the Soulish Podcast. My name is Whitney Apke, and I am your host. Today, I have a very inspirational guest, Bri, who is the behind-the-scenes creator of the Millennial Soul Instagram. Bri is your manifesting hype woman. After nearly a decade of studying the law of attraction and manifesting amazing things in her life, she wanted to share everything she learned that worked along the way. She created the Millennial Soul to teach others that they don't have to be perfect to be spiritual and live an extraordinary life. We talk all things thought, life, and manifestation, so definitely tune in because it's really good stuff. Let's dive in. Awesome to finally meet you because I have been taking in all of your quotes. I feel like they're so timely too. Like they're always right in alignment with what I'm thinking or what I'm praying on or meditating on or maybe what I'm even going through. I feel like your quotes are so timely. There's so many good quotes. But
I like that. You're like, oh, that's what I'm thinking. Because I'm like, it's a lot of times kind of my train of thought or train of inspiration.
Which is so good though. It's so perfect because there's so many people that I'm sure are going through or thinking the same things, but they don't have that quote that just totally wraps it up in a bow. I think every post that you have is a Christmas present, Christmas present for my soul.
Oh yeah, that's so sweet.
I'm serious.
I love it.
I have some quotes, some favorite quotes. I'm going to read you. I love the, if you can picture it, you can manifest it. No matter what it is. I love that. So I flipping love your quotes. Yeah. They're so good.
I'm so happy you love them.
Yeah. I'm not alone. I'm not alone in it. I love the whatever we think about and think about, we bring about. With manifesting, do you believe that that's how that happens as far as being thinking about something and then but being thankful? Is that the key?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that there's kind of 2 or maybe 3 parts that I would say about that, and that's you have to focus on it. If you don't know what you want and you're always just kind of reacting to stuff, then you're not going to have clarity, and what you're sending out is going to be a mess, and you're going to get back a mess. That's why I spent years dating guys who were wishy-washy, because I'd be like, oh, I want a relationship. No, I don't. Oh, I do. No, I don't. So it's you don't know what you want. So how are you supposed to get what you want? So you have to intentionally focus on that. And then I also think in terms of thanking, I would say that that's kind of 2 parts, because I think when you're feeling appreciative and grateful, you're on that frequency to bring stuff in your life. So you'll manifest, just because that's the same as feeling joy. When you're grateful for things in your life, you only get and see more things to be grateful for. But I also think that when you're grateful for something that's coming, it's a way of saying you have faith in it. You getting that vision and you're oh, I'm so grateful that I got that vision and I know it's out there. That's you having faith that something better is coming. And I think that that's kind of a component that people miss a lot, is they're okay, I'll just journal about what I want and I'll write a list of things to be grateful for, but stuff's not coming because they're missing that faith and really feeling I'm going to get what's meant for me and it's going to be awesome. So,
ooh, I like this one too. Your destiny is in your hands. Whatever you think, whatever you feel will decide your life.
I believe that. I just really believe that I really just believe that people can do and be anything. And
have you seen that in your life as far as seeing something, creating it, experiencing it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel I've done that with everything. When I graduated college, I was going through a rough time. I had a lot of family stuff going on. I had broken up with this guy. He started seeing someone else. I graduated a year before all my friends. I moved to Miami by myself, lived out of a hotel, just had my car, had no job. I was 40 pounds heavier than I am now. Wow. And within a couple months, I just was it was just I had been so sad for so long that I just kind of was I'm over it. Like I was like, I'm going to just do things that I want. I got an apartment right next to the ocean that was a block away from a job that had exact like hours and pay that I wanted.
Wow.
I lost like a ton of weight. I went on all these vacations. I started dating this guy that I thought was a man of my dreams, but I was 22. So that dream changed. That's different. You know, at the time, like it was great.
Yeah.
25
It was what you
now,
needed right then.
yeah, but it was just like, it was literally like I had taken my life from something that was so unsure and so sad. And I was like, okay, I'm going to move to this place just because I want to. And I'm going to work in this field that I have no experience in. And I'm going to look this way and I'm going to meet this type of person. And I did it. And I was just, because I was just so determined, like, it's my life. I'm going to do these things. And so to me, I feel like that was like my big year of transformation. And then since then, I've been just like, keep on going with manifesting.
That's so cool. So, but how did you go to Miami and with that, all of that intention of like, I'm just going to completely transform my life? Or did it just like happen because you just were like, fuck it, basically?
That's a tough question. I am originally from Boston. So I like graduated college. I went back home to Boston and I was like, I'm not going to stay here. Like, this is not my place. I want something like bigger and better and I want fun. And for some reason, like Miami had gorgeous weather and it seemed like a place for fun. So I was like, okay, I'm going to just go to Miami. And then once I got there, I was like, I'll figure it out. So obviously, so like the first thing you want to move somewhere, like a job and a home. So that kind of came first. And then I was like, okay, like I started meditating more. I was like waking up next to the ocean. I was next to the ocean all the time. I was at my first like desk job. So I was listening to like tons of Abraham Hicks and stuff all day. And that's kind of when I was like, oh, like I was carrying all this extra weight because I was so scared. And then I was kind of like, well, I'm not scared anymore. Like I'm ready to drop this. But I feel like sometimes you have to manifest, like you can manifest everything, but I feel like sometimes it's easier, air quotes there to everyone listening at home, that it's easier to do like one or two things at a time, because I feel like if I was like, okay, I'm going to move there and like look super hot and get this job and get this beautiful apartment and find this man and like do all of this, that I feel like I would have, to me at that time, it would have been such a big idea that I would have had no faith in it. But I think that once you get used to it, then you can start going bigger and bigger and like faster and faster. Again, I guess like bigger is in air quotes too, but like
hashtag bigger and better.
Yeah.
But I think that's true that we have like the big dream, but like all of that can't just happen in, a little snap of a finger. Mary Poppins moment. It doesn't happen like that, right? It does take steps you have to, first of all, like step out like you did in faith, and just also with like, I'm doing this. Like nobody can stop me. I graduated. I'm done. Like I'm making life happen because life isn't working out right now. And it's also that feeling of, I just want to leave everything behind. I just want to get rid of it, and start a new fresh start. And I think that's what kind of is required for you when you're manifesting, to step out and to act on it. Right.
Yeah. I think another huge part of that too is that, like, I'll go back to my story a little bit. But it's like when I decided to move here by myself, like I was young, I had no experience. Like I had to make it. Like I had to have that faith and that vision and kind of get some stuff rolling. And I think that like happens all the time, is that like if you really commit to like, hey, I'm going to manifest this no matter what. It might not be exactly what I want, exactly the day I want it, but I know that I'm going to do this. And if you like can feel it that you're going to do it and you're just like, no, like there's no plan B, like I'm going to do plan A, even if I have a million extra steps on the way, like you'll manifest that.
Yep.
So I think it's awesome. It's super fun.
Yeah. And it just takes a little bit of, cojones, a little chutzpah to like, to step out, because, it's almost kind of that feeling of like, if I fail, I fail, but I also can't afford to fail because I have to figure this out because I'm here, So I like that. I like that because it takes a lot of determination it's kind of like the energy that drives you, to like do something.
Yeah.
But it's pretty ballsy of you to do that.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes, like, when you're so afraid of something that, like, all of a sudden you're just like, okay, I'm either jumping in or like I'm never going to do it. That's how I live my life. It's probably not like the best thing, but I feel like if you have faith, like you have your own little like parachute of the universe. And I'm like, it is super scary. Like you're trusting in like a universe, a God, a source, as something that like you can feel when you're ready to feel it, but sometimes you can't feel it all the time and like you can't see it. And there's people that are going to be doubting you all the time. I think it's super scary, but if you can just like focus on your faith, you can do anything.
And so, like for you, do you have faith in God or the universe? Like, what's your background on that? On faith?
Okay, I'm from Boston, so I grew up Italian Catholic. So I was used to going to church. I'm really, really comfortable with the idea of God because I've been like praying my whole life, spiritually. When you grow up in the church, they always tell you like God will get you through it. Just pray for it, pray for it. So that was a really familiar idea. I do think that when I was younger, I kind of thought of God of like this all big being that had like ideas for you and you were going to do it and you had to act right or do that. And now I kind of like my God is like a hippie now. It's more like a God / universe where I think that like God is all like the positive loving aspects and all the like negative stuff that I learned in church to me, I think is like the man-made stuff. So I think that like a lot of religions, if you go to their core, they say like treat people how you want to be treated, like have faith in your desires, trust, like be loving, be grateful.
Hey, it's me. I just wanted to let you guys know that I am a certified life coach and I have been coaching and mentoring people for over a decade now. I specialize with issues of the soul, no surprise there, and can help you realign with your values and purpose, break free from emotional blockages and negative thought patterns, and you will feel motivated and encouraged to take the necessary steps to living a fulfilling life. My clients are people just like you who want to have connected and positive relationships with their friends, family, and significant others, break free from addictions and bad habits, heal emotional issues and trauma, and experience spiritual breakthrough and energetic healing. Because as we go through life, we encounter challenges and hardships, and sometimes we need someone to help us keep going or to make adjustments that enable us to overcome and grow, and most of all, enjoy our life. My sessions are designed so that you are completely free to address whatever you feel is most important. If you are interested in meeting with me one-on-one, then go to whitneyapke.com/coaching and sign up. Your first session is on me.
Like, I believe God and the universe do the same thing and that there is like a loving spiritual guidance in our life that's like ready to help us. We just have to like tune into the love to get it. Yeah. What about you?
So I grew up Christian and in a pastor's home, no less. So I totally can relate to your background as well. And I think it's not to get all talking about religion and stuff, but it is crazy when you look at the history of stuff, which I hadn't necessarily been ever taught about, in Sunday school or even private Christian school didn't really talk so much about like the Crusades, even like all of the fighting between the Catholics and Christians, and Protestants, like all of that's pretty crazy when it's like they literally killed for it just so that they could dominate. And they used religion as a dominating force. And for a long time, didn't even allow people to read the Bible. For a long time, it was just the pastor or, the priest could read the word and that was that. So like no one ever was allowed to have their own understanding or for it to speak to them in a certain way. The Bible was always translated how they wanted it translated. And so I think there's a lot of history there that we don't have when it comes to religion. And just as a Christian, like I didn't always believe in reincarnation. I thought it was very new age, and the more that I study it and learn different things like that, like it was actually in the original text and that actually Jesus talked about reincarnation quite often and referenced it, that I definitely am open to that concept. I don't think it's a hill I want to die on, but
like my family would always say that they love Catholic Church, and they're like not very religious. There is a big traditional aspect that people go for.
Yes.
Like, oh, I was always doing this. My mother did this, like that. But it's not
comforting,
quite like
right?
same. Yeah.
Yeah. It's more like I'm doing this because it makes me feel comfortable. It makes me feel good about my life and that I'm doing something good for myself or right for my family. And, you know, we're hearing good things, which for the most part, yeah, that's true. You know, like it is uplifting and edifying.
Yeah. Like my mom to this day will be like, I'm stressed. Like I need to go to church this week. Like, you know, like that, like if I go to church, like it's gonna like clear me and help. And I think that like there is an aspect, like when you're focused on spirituality, like there is that peace, that calm that comes from going to church. Or at least in my experience, like whenever I do like a meditation, a yoga, a church, like anything sort of where you're kind of focused on like, oh, I need to like chill out a little and be a little bit better and learn something that like it transform you on its own. But the reincarnation stuff, I guess back to that, like I believe in it because I believe that like our energy always exists. But I also like personally feel like a little cut off from it because it's not like something I grew up with. So I don't know how to interpret it. I don't know if like I'm the same person and I just keep reliving as a different like being, but it's still just me, or like the next time I come back, it's like a little bit of me, a little bit of someone else, and we create like a new person. I haven't quite figured that out for myself, like what I think, but I also, it's one of those things where it's like, I'll be surprised then, like.
True. Because I think there are mysteries and unknowns, right? So it's like, for a long time, I thought that reincarnation was dangerous, like a dangerous belief. And I think that's where I've come, at least for myself, of realizing it's not so dangerous. And if it does or doesn't exist, it actually doesn't change much. I mean, if this is like my one shot at this life and that's all I get, and if I don't make it to 4D, then I don't graduate, you know, or whatever, you know, as far as like the law of one and raw and everything, like if it's partially true and, you know, this is our one shot, then I'm still going to live my life the same way, just like you do, with, you know, faith and living my life and enjoying my life. And so it doesn't necessarily dictate that. I've never heard of the part of me and part of someone else, because I've always seen it as a consciousness. Like I am a consciousness, but that could happen too. Who knows? And I think ultimately that is the goal, that we all become one anyway. So, I mean, it's not too far off there if that's the case, you know?
Yeah, that's like how I feel. I'm like, okay, like if you're part of a one, then like, do I always break off like exactly this way?
I don't think we're quite there yet, as far as a collective consciousness, but I think that we are on the definite pathway. I think part of that is social media. Like that has brought about so much oneness and awareness, and you feel things so much deeper, and things are so much louder now than like when you and I grew up. I mean, when you were a young kid, 5, 6 years old, like this concept of social media and communicating on the internet, super foreign. Like the internet didn't happen for me in my life until I was 13. And I didn't have a cell phone, I think, until I was like driving. And I think that was like the only reason why I even had a cell phone, was because I was driving at 16, 17. I think like that awareness and that consciousness, eventually we become one, right? As far as like a collective consciousness. I think we still have our individual consciousness. It's just that we are so connected with each other that we are all the different expressions of one consciousness, you know, just like you have many thoughts in a day. So will you be one of many consciousnesses and experiences and lives and all of that wrapped into one collective consciousness. So who knows? I mean, I think like the whole point of this life is to live it, but I think also it's just the journey of enlightenment and awareness. And so like for me, I could feel like I'm fulfilling a purpose in helping people like you do with all of your awesome freaking dope quotes. You know, you help raise awareness and consciousness just by what you do, and you're just living and enjoying your life and then sharing it with the world. And I think that is awesome. But if you're not doing the work, and if you're not on your own journey, and you're just focused on, you know, output instead of input, I think that's where a lot of people can go kind of awry and miss the whole point, is that if it's not first within you, then it can't come out of you, right? For many years, I didn't pour into myself. I didn't go on my own journey. I was so wrapped up in everyone else's journey and making sure everyone else was doing good, you know, and moving forward, that I didn't focus on myself. So I burned out hardcore. I was a crispy, burnt bit of a person. And it took many a years for me to focus on myself. And literally, I quit everything. I literally quit everything, and I just focused on getting a job that would pay better. So I think it's cool how the universe brings those things in when we need it. And so I think in our journeys, like nothing is ever lost or nothing is ever meaningless, you know, as far as like who we meet and who we encounter and all the interactions, you know, that we have throughout the day with homeless people or people that we work with or friends or family. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I totally believe in that. I believe that like every interaction you have is for a purpose. And even if that's like something frustrates you and you get super angry and you embarrass yourself and you know, you have too many shots of tequila and you cry, not talking about personal experience, never. But like that's something that like you're learning something from it. Like you're either learning like, oh, is this something that I want, or is this something that I want to make sure doesn't happen again? And I think a lot of times too, like with romantic relationships, like you get that. Like I would say, like I'm obviously like I'm not married right now, but I would say like in all my relationships, like you learn something about them and something about yourself, and it really is kind of like, oh, I didn't realize our relationship could have this and this, and I like this, and I'm going to take this to the next one, and like those other things like could go away.
A couple last questions before we wrap up. I wanted to know, how does our thought life impact what we manifest versus what we want to manifest?
Your thoughts, I feel like that manifest what you might not want are kind of your, like I would almost call them like your default or your fallback thoughts. And then manifesting what you want is when you have to shift it. So I think a lot of times people start off with manifestation and they like kind of crash and burn. They get really excited. They're like, I'm going to manifest this, this, and this. And they come out with, okay, I'm going to have like this dream home and this guy and $1 million and blah, blah, blah. And then they're almost like, okay, where is it? And then they kind of that revert right back to their old thoughts. So they're not doing, they think that they're doing it, but it's surface level. So they're like, okay, I'm going to visualize and do this and that, but they still are feeling the same. I think too, a lot of people will do something similar to that where they set their intentions in the morning and the night and they're really happy and aligned. And then in the day, like someone says something to them and they get mad. They, you know, they text their crush and they don't text back and they're all like, oh my God, does he still like me? Like they panic. They haven't shifted internally. And I think that once you can really shift into like, okay, I know this is how this feels. This is how I'm feeling. But it's just kind of a matter of like, where do you want to stay? So where you are the most is what you're actually going to manifest. I think that you manifest what you want when you're feeling it more often than when you have to go after the feelings. If you're always going after the feeling, you're still feeling those old feelings and thoughts.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It totally does, because I know that I've been that where you start complaining or even maybe joking like, oh yeah, dude, I'm broke, you know, and you're joking, you're making fun of it, you're making light of it, but that actually sends a huge confusing message out just energetically when you're either complaining all the time or joking. But the key to that is to be aware of that and shut that down. And instead of joking about it, put it out there that no, the universe has my back, or I'm going to figure out a way. The opportunity is going to come for me to either make the amount of money that I need to have, or I'm going to some sort of source is going to come into my life that is going to help me with this, because I'm being diligent. I'm being good with my money. I'm stewarding what I have and honoring it, and not just spending frivolously for whatever, right? And then at the same time, I'm also doing the energy work and the spiritual work of raising my awareness and consciousness, but I'm making sure that my thoughts and my words align with that. And that anytime that it is out of alignment, I retract it and take it back and make a pure, truthful statement, that comes from the heart, from your spirit, what you want. Well, thank you so much for coming, Bri, and for being on this podcast. It was so awesome to finally meet you and to get to talk with you a little bit about all things thought, life, and manifestation.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you enjoyed my conversation with Bri, aka the Millennial Soul. Go check her out on Instagram. Every day she has amazing quotes that are uplifting and spot on. Soulish is not only a podcast, but a community where we can relate to each other and support each other in our soul journeys. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at I Am Soulish. I can't wait to connect with you there. See you next week.